Welcome to Hawg Huddle, your weekly opinion-based podcast dedicated to all things Razorbacks. From the highs and lows on the field and court to the biggest stories off of it, we've got you covered. Got a question or topic you want us to tackle? Email us or tweet us your thoughts, and we'll bring them into the huddle. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the latest. This is Hawg Huddle. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of Hawg Huddle. I'm your host, Jesse Thurman. Just go ahead and get it out there now. I am a little under the weather with the constant weather changing here in Northwest Arkansas, and it's just been a rough week for me. It's a lot of stuff going on, so probably going to be another short show today, but I wanted to get something out. Maintain schedule for everybody. So we'll start off with basketball. No basketball games this week. They had the week off for Christmas. They're back in action tomorrow night at Bud Walton for the non-conference finale against Oakland. Be a last time to work out some of the bugs and get our guys back in action, ready to go before they start the gauntlet that is the SEC conference schedule. We opened it up against number 1 Tennessee at Thompson Bowling on the road, and it doesn't get any easier after that. I mean, we won't be playing number 1 every week, but we'll be playing a top 25 team most conference games. Joe Lunardi, in his too early bracket, has 13 of the 16 SEC teams making the big tournament at the end of the year. But let's jump into what did happen in Razorback athletics this week. Hogs go down to Memphis, and other than a slip up in the second quarter, dominate Texas Tech. Good game from Taylon Green, 341 passing, 81 on the ground. He did what he was supposed to do against a bad defense. I'm not going to overhype his performance, but I do feel like he did a solid job in the game, especially behind not his number 1 lineman. We'll see how the transfers in affect the line. I thought the guys that got the opportunity done a pretty good job. There were a few times that they let some guys through. Depends on who you talk to on the safety. Some people think it was Taylon's fault. Some people think it was the line's fault. You know you're in a hot spot there. Snap it, get it out. I'm going to put more of that blame on Taylon because he is the experienced player on the field. Some young guys really capitalized on their opportunity to get some playing time. Desmond James, 3 catches for 137 yards. First catch as a Razorback, 94-yard touchdown. Looked good on that play. He's got good speed. Used a little work on his separation. That is one that we'll see how he does in the spring, see how he does on his offseason training. He may be a contributor next year. I would really like to see him as a contributor. He's got good speed, track star. And he smoked him. He got the ball, got in the open. Once he shook off that last attempt at a tackle, he was gone. Wasn't nobody catching him. Running back Tyrell Reed Jr. Had 1 carry for 8 yards, I think it was. But got a little dump pass over the middle, and he took it to the house, 47 yards for a touchdown catch. This guy isn't necessarily a young guy, but he did make the most of his opportunity to play, and that's Antoine Junkaj. Got the safety for us. It's up in the air whether he can come back or not. A lot of folks think this is his final game as a Razorback. He's hampered by injury most of the year. But with the Diego Pavia ruling that junior college no longer counts towards your years of eligibility and NIL earning abilities, there is a chance that we could see him back next year, and I'd love to see him on the edge. No, we didn't have Landon Jackson, but Junkaj, he made their lives miserable. He was in the backfield. He's getting some tackles. Big tackle on that safety. So proud of him for that. Really liked the way he came out and played. Got robbed of a touchdown. He did step out of bounds, but Isaac Tesla underutilized his entire time as a Razorback. The kid's got great hands. I feel like we should have used him a lot more throughout the year. But he had a few catches, had a big catch and run, and his foot came down just before he got the ball across the plane. Kind of robbed him of his touchdown. I wish Petrino would have drawn something else up for him later in the game and try to get that touchdown for him. And some fans are going to get a kick out of this. Some fans are going to say I'm making fun of players. But old Flappy Bird, Marquise Robinson, got an interception. I did not complain about the Flappy Bird celebration after the interception. I was happy to see that. Defense played solid. They gave up a little bit there in the second quarter, but overall, pretty solid game from the defense. And that's going to bring me into, we got all these guys playing because our starters is set out for NFL or transferred to another school. So what do we have coming in the transfer portal to replace them? I'm not going to go through all of it. Like I said, if y'all want in-depth transfer portal news, go watch John Neighbors and Inside Arkansas. Him, Curtis, and Andrew are on top of it. That is their livelihood. They are dedicated. This is a hobby for me. And with everything I've had going on in my life this week with Christmas holiday, getting a cold, all that, I have not had time to do all the research to speak the way I need to speak about it. But I will say this, I'm not blown away with our portal class so far. There's still time to go. There's still hope for getting some guys in. And we've got some good ones. I think Omega Blake's going to be a good wide receiver. I like the D1 starting lineman that we've got coming in. One thing I will say that will be an unpopular opinion, I'm not sold on Courtney Crutchfield coming in. Yes, he had Luther Burden and Theo Weiss ahead of him at Mizzou, but we didn't see him at Mizzou. Didn't get playing time. He's coming home to Arkansas. Hopefully he does great things for us. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do, and I want him to prove me wrong and make me eat my crow. Like I say, smoked with a side of Wright's barbecue sauce. But I'm not sold on it. And a lot of people are saying, one of the things I've heard, read online on social media, Twitter, Facebook, well, he's an Arkansas kid. Well, if you've ever watched football, high school football, from any state surrounding us besides Arkansas, there's a reason there's only 2 or 3 D1 prospects coming out of this state every year. Arkansas football is way behind Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, even Oklahoma. Yeah, we've got some good athletes in the state of Arkansas, but our best football team in the state of Arkansas couldn't stay on the field with the 10th best team out of Texas. Texas football is another level. You're ever bored and want to be amazed? Go look at some Texas high school stadiums and how much money they put into them. There are Texas high school stadiums that are nicer than War Memorial, better stadium than Jonesboro has for A-State, better stadium than UCA. I mean, last year when Harding won their national title, it was played at a Texas high school stadium. That's where they played the D2 national title game because it was that nice of a stadium. So, once upon a time, yes, playing for the Hog on the jersey meant something to kids from the state of Arkansas. You might have got a little extra for them. In the current era of college football, like it, hate it, doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything anymore. These kids are about setting themselves up for later down the road. Most of them. Some of them are about making a quick buck. and I understand that. But I know most of my listeners are around my age, mid 30s. Transfer yourself back 18 years, 17, 18-year-old kid. Somebody says, man, you're pretty good at playing this game here. Why don't you come on over here? I'll give you $100,000 a semester and we'll give you a new truck to drive around campus. It could have been Ohio State. The only school that I have enough hatred for that I wouldn't have went to is Texas. And I hate Ohio State, but if they came to me and said, hey, Jesse, man, you look good on that offensive line. Why don't you come up here and be a Buckeye? We'll give you $100,000 a year, and we'll get you a brand new Silverado to drive around town. I'd have been packing my bags and heading up to the banks of the Olentangy. That's where I would have been. So I understand playing for the Hog on the jersey, but I think a lot of fans need to realize that we as fans care more about that Hog and that name of Arkansas across the front of the jersey than anybody that's going to put it on. Bobby Petrino struck platinum, not even gold. He struck platinum with that class he had. It's just not every year in the state of Arkansas, and there's just not as much. Trying to think of the right word to use here. There's not as much passion for the school with the youth as there was when we were younger. It is what it is. The world changes. Either adapt or get left behind. And right now, unfortunately, it looks like Arkansas is getting left behind in this transfer portal era. Hoping maybe with these bowl games, we'll see a little bit more movement. Hopefully, movement coming in, no movement going out. Hoping none of these guys I talked about is like, hey, check out my highlight tape from the Liberty Bowl. What are you going to offer me? And bounce. I don't want to see any of that. Time will tell. Very big visit period coming up January 1st through 5th, I believe it is. Last year, we got Jaquindon Jackson during that time period, and look at what he turned out to be. Great running back, hampered by injury. He wouldn't have got hurt. My preseason prediction that I made over at Inside the Hog Pen would have came true with a 1,000-yard receiver and a 1,000-yard rusher. I think he ended up with a little over 700 on the season and missed 3 or 4 games. He was on track to hit that 1,000 yards. I almost looked like a genius there. But let's go ahead and jump into my final talking point of the day. And again, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. Eventually, I'm going to talk about stuff that everybody can agree on and we can all be happy about. But Carmona, best returning lineman we have. And I wouldn't be a bit upset if he hit the portal after the Liberty Bowl. Not because he had a bad game. And I kind of brushed it off when it initially happened. He had a personal foul where he shoulder checked a boy on the sideline after a play. I was like, okay, he's just sending a message. I can understand that. Wasn't nothing dirty about it. He just shoulder checked old boy and let him know he was there. But trying to think how to say this without breaking my no cussing rule. The immature, childish move that he pulled on Texas Tech's arguably best defensive player of the game. He walks up to him while the kid's on the ground. Keep in mind, Carmona's a big boy. He's bigger than me. Looks down, steps on the kid's ankle, and puts all his weight into it. Play's over. Play's been whistled dead. They're unpiling at this point. He pulls that, and that was the Texas Tech defender that I was most impressed with. Baskerville, I can't recall his name. I'm sorry, and I'm too foggy-headed to go look it up. But so I see this making its rounds on social media. It's on TikTok. It's on Twitter. It's on Facebook. So I decided to look at the comments and see what Arkansas fans are saying. And this is what really disappointed me about our fan base. I'm not going to say all, because there were plenty of people calling it was dirty play, weak. I have a word in mind that starts with a B to call this, but I've said when I started this show, I'm not going to cuss on this show, so we're not going to say it. But you can imagine what it is. There were Arkansas fans in the comments telling people to get over it. It's part of the game. It's just how the game's played. It's rough in the trenches. Just carrying on and not necessarily defending Carmona, but not calling him out like he needed to be called out. And I stopped and I thought to myself, I remember back during a football play where the Tennessee player hit Taylon Green in the knee and fans lost their mind. Oh, that was a dirty play. That was a dirty play. I don't think it was a good play. I'm not saying it was dirty. I'm not saying it was completely innocent. But it was a questionable play. Arkansas fans lost their minds. And a lot of those same Arkansas fans are trying to defend what Carmona does after a play is over. Everybody's getting up off the pile. And he set out, I don't know what his intentions were. I'm not going to assume his intentions. I'm just going to say what it looked like. He set out to hurt the man. Big boy his size on a much smaller guy, standing on an ankle, pushing it away. It's not supposed to bend. That's not a good look. That's a dirty play. And had it been a Texas Tech player that done that to Hudson Clark, Marquise Robinson, Xavier Sorey, Steven Dix Jr., who also had a really good game on defense. I didn't mention him earlier, but shout out to him. I really like the way he played. If that would have been a Texas Tech player doing that to an Arkansas player, every fan in the fan base would have lost their mind and been just going on and on, blasting it everywhere. So let's be honest with ourselves when we see stuff like this. Somebody does something dirty, call it out. Do I think Carmona never needs to play college football again? I wouldn't go that far, but there does need to be some kind of punishment, a severe punishment. I know if this was the NFL, he would be giving up part of his paycheck for that move. I just don't have faith in Sam Pittman to have any accountability. So, but I just wanted to point that out. Let me know if you disagree. I played on the line. We got after it between the whistles. Tell you a little story about when I was playing. Had a guy wanted to keep swinging, which why you punch somebody with a helmet on makes no sense to me. But a kid from actually my wife's hometown, Old Dardanelle, Arkansas. He'd get mad because I was run blocking him. I kept pushing him outside. So he swings on me at the end of a play. This is before the whistle blew. I look at the ref, shrug my shoulders. He goes, I'm going to give you something to cry about here in a minute. Next play, I went low on him. He left me alone after that. We played straight up football, but we kept it between the whistles. After the whistle, stepping on people, like I said, the shoulder check, I'm fine with. Getting his head, it was the first half. The stepping on the ankle, no, that's going too far. I don't like that. That's an embarrassment to the university, and that's just poor sportsmanship. You don't want to – you got kids watching you, idolizing you. I know when I was a young kid, I idolized Razorbacks. You're not supposed to do that, but I did anyway because I live my life the way I want. But you got to set a better example, and you got to represent the school better than that. So I'll get off my soapbox on that. Like I said, y'all disagree, hit me up on TikTok, hit me up on Twitter. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong, and we'll talk about it. But I'm going to go ahead and close it out for this week. I went a little longer than I originally thought I would. But as you go through your week this week, be sure to stay safe on New Year's. Don't drink and drive. Ubers are not that expensive. An Uber's a hell of a lot cheaper than a DWI or a DUI. Be safe out there. Have fun. Bring in 2025. Let's hope 2025 is a better year. I don't know about y'all, but personally, my 2024 kind of sucked. 2025 ain't starting off great, but hopefully it'll end up great. With 2025 comes conference basketball for the SEC and the Razorbacks. Baseball is about 2.5 months away. Almost time to be back out at Baum Walker. That may mess up my posting when I spend Sunday afternoons at Baum Walker. But I appreciate each and every one of you for listening in. I've rambled on long enough. Have a great week. Enjoy your new year. Stay safe. Tune back in next Sunday for another episode of Hawg Huddle. Let me take this opportunity to say thank you for listening to Hawg Huddle this week. Make sure and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Tell your friends and follow us on socials. We're on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.